Hi, I'm Ken Edward.
And I'm Dane Rakestraw. We're with Keystone Steel and Wire, manufacturers of Red Brand agricultural fence products. The steps we're going to show you today will make sure you have a fence that looks good and lasts a long time.
Red Brand welded wire is made here in Peoria, Illinois from recycled steel. We take pride in having better welds and more protective zinc coating than other competing products in the industry. The other product that could be used for this project is Yard Garden and Kennel, also made here in Peoria, Illinois from recycled steel. The difference between welded wire and Yard Garden and Kennel is Yard Garden and Kennel has knots instead of welds, allowing for the wire to conform to the terrain when installing. It's also an economical alternative to chain link. The product is made out of Class 1 protective zinc coating, which will make sure your project lasts a long time. For this particular project, we've elected to use Red Brand, Yard Garden, and Kennel. The first thing you need to do is determine the front side of your kennel. Do this by laying out 2 stakes. Next, you're going to use a string to lay out the fence line.
And these 2 stakes are going to be longer in distance than your desired pin size as far as the kennel size. The kennel that we're going to build here today is actually 25 feet square, and these 2 pins are probably 75 feet apart. So we want to be longer than the actual front wall of this kennel will be.
Next, you're going to want to dig your first post hole.
And this will be one of the 4 corners of your dog kennel.
Make sure to dig it deep enough.
And here we're going to use 48-inch Yard Garden and Kennel, so I'm going to use a 8-foot 4x4 pressure treated post. So I'm probably going to have this post out of the ground 52 inches, so it's going to be a pretty good size, pretty deep hole. And this is important because this is one of the main stays of your dog kennel. So here I'm looking to get the height, the proper height, and also looking at where it's in position to the string, the orange string on the side. And going to tamp this post in, making sure this level. With a little bit of dirt at a time, making sure that you tamp it in nice and firm.
Next, we're going to mark off 25 feet to install our second post.
This second post will be the second corner of the 4 corners for the dog kennel. And again, you can see this hole is going to be relatively deep. Again, using a 4x4, 8-foot long pressure treated post. Lining it up with the string.
Now that you have one side of your kennel laid out, you'll need to determine the position of your other 2 posts. To determine the distance of your next 2 corner posts, you'll need to find the diagonal distance based off of this formula. To find C, you'll need to determine the square root of A squared plus B squared. For our kennel, that would be 25 squared plus 25 squared, which equals 1,250. And the square root of that is 35 feet, 4 inches. Now we will use a technique called the sweep technique. To do that, spray a line at the distance the formula says, as they're doing here, and then spray another line the distance you want your fence line to be. Where these 2 lines cross will be the position for your post. The next line of your kennel, drive a pin and draw the string around it.
reference the painted mark on the ground, having the string cross that painted mark, drive a pin in the ground, and then tie the string to that mark. That will give you reference for the second side of your kennel.
This may seem a little confusing at the time, but continue to watch. We'll have an overhead shot that'll make more sense.
Fine-tune the strings if you need to.
Next, we're going to measure out 25 feet and mark our string.
Next, we want to establish the third side of the dog kennel. Here again, driving a stake in the ground that we'll tie the string to.
When driving that stake, you're referencing the mark you made on the string. You'll need to adjust it, but you should be able to get it close.
Here we're measuring 25 feet again. Going to make a mark on the string. The string has everything laid out for now to set your post.
And set your next two corner posts to height.
And then evenly space your posts within this fence line. Next, dig all the holes
And set your remaining line posts.
Here we're pulling a string from corner to corner across the top.
This string is going to be used to determine the height of our posts. So we have a line string and a top string. As you can see here, Ken's using the top string to set the height. But we've also got the line string up front, so our fence line is nice and straight.
This way, if your corner posts are set level, and you have the two strings, the rest of your posts will set in mirror comparison to the corner post. And here we have all the posts set.
Now that you've set all your line posts, it's time to install the top rail. We've selected treated 2x4 lumber for our top rail posts. You'll need to measure them, cut them to length, making sure to leave enough room for the next top rail to butt up to the one you just installed.
Here we're using 3-inch decking screws just to make sure that they are secure. Here we're setting on the top rail, which is a 2x4 pressure treated board laying flat, taking consideration leaving enough room for the next board to be installed on top of the post.
At the corners, you'll need to cut the top rail at a 45 to accommodate the next top rail. Here's a photograph of the kennel with top rails complete.